Evacuation. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe. Today we'll be going over Evacuation, how it plays with 2 players. Now Evacuation is a 1 to 4 player game where you will be trying to transfer population and factories from this old polluted world to this new unexplored world. The person who wins the game, the race to the game is to try to establish a resource engine in the new world and have enough entertainment that everybody wants to be on the new world. So let's see a little bit more how to play. So Evacuation is played over 4 rounds, and these 4 rounds start with an income phase. The income phase is determined based on, the little population markers and the factories, and you're going to get that on the appropriate world. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have a lot of resources on the old world, but as you go through the game, and as you establish more in the new world, you're going to be getting more resources on the new world. However, when you take stuff from the old world, that will produce a little bit less. So there's a nice balance that's going to happen throughout the 4 turns of the game. Then, of course, you have to feed your people and feed the population. So you'll have to feed more on the old world. And once again, the new world will become more population later in the game. Next, we're going to go on to the actions. The actions are going to be where you're going to be placing your cards down and doing these various actions. And after a little while, you'll have to spend some more energy. So it's, do you want to play this card to play some energy? But it's a basic action placement. So you're going to be placing a card under an action and carrying out that action. They may be getting resources, getting some factories, establishing on the new world, buying ships. There's a whole bunch of actions that you can do in this game. The next part is going to be the transport. So once you have purchased everything, once you've got all your actions complete, and you may have bought one of these ships, you're going to use these ships to evacuate kind of some of the old world and get it onto the ship and move that ship across to the new world. Now, it's not established on the new world yet, but you're just delivering stuff back and forth on your board. And you're going to have to send your ships back from the new world back to the old world to hopefully, make it kind of a convoy, if you will. Then you kind of update the turn order, which is whoever has the most happy faces, whoever's population is the happiest, from the stadiums and so forth. Then you're going to have the progress phase. Progress phase is you're going to move these satellites across. So the better actions you do, the more points you can get on the actions. Each one of these actions has a certain point value associated with, progress value, if you will. You'll count up all of those and move your 2 satellites. They're going to move further and further from the old world to the new world. So you're going to lose a few resources on the old world, but be able to establish the different biomes in the new world. Then you're going to look for any bonuses you may have done from your population or from your progress tokens, and then clean up. You're going to do that 4 times, and hopefully it's a race to see who can come up with 8 production on the 3 resources, food, steel, and energy on the new world, and have 3 stadiums. It's kind of a race to see who can do that. If nobody does that after that, it goes on to some tiebreakers, some happy faces, and that's the end of the game. So let's see a little bit more what I thought about the game. So the components in this game, there are a lot. It's pretty sprawling. The setup just takes you a little bit to get out there, but I like all the components. But I will say that the board is very, very well laid out. I really like the board, even though it does take up a lot of space. The rules and references. The rules are fairly straightforward for the most part, just a couple things you need to remember. But it is nice at the back of the book, it does say like a rules reminder, which is super, super nice, especially to get this back to the table. The references are great. Everything has a great icon, and those icons are once again referenced over here. They give you reference sheets. Even though you don't really need these explain the exact cards and tiles that you may be using through the game. And that's a great addition for a game like this. So let's talk about setup and table size. The setup will take you a little bit, probably about 15 minutes to get this set up. Pretty procedural, but there's just a lot of decks you have to get there, a lot of things to get there and set up, especially on the board and the technology tree that you're going to have. Table size, this is going to take up a decent amount. There's not much you can do about the large board in front of you, and especially the 2-player boards and 4 if you're playing with 4 players. So let's go into the gameplay, and the gameplay in this game is really unique. You're just trying to determine what kind of income you have. So you're going to have all these different various cubes and use steel to build the ships. Use energy to have to send the ships, but energy is also how you can play more actions. You need enough food to feed your people and to feed the just general population. It's a neat balance because you're going to have really 2 resource pools, and they don't really share too well unless you transfer resource via your ships. So these ships are very important. When you evacuate a certain site, and you can evacuate a factory, get factories on the ships and send them over. And, it's kind of like how can I get it from here to over to the new world without really fully gutting the old world. It's just a great little play on the ship and the movement mechanic of resources. There's also the big kind of technology tree in the middle of the board. Every person's is unique. There's 4 sets, and they're going to be of 9 tiles each. And those come as a set. And you'll start at the bottom and kind of move your way up. It's a really neat technology tree and a really good where do you want to work towards? It gives you that kind of goal of, I can be really efficient at this if I can get this technology early. The action placement, when you're placing your actions, there are, the progress tokens that have a 1 to it. You won't be able to move your satellites as much, but there may be a little bit more powerful actions than some of the ones that'll let you move the satellites. Now, the further you move the satellites, the less old world influence. So there's a really good balance, there's a really crossover point. It gives you that, I need this at the old world. I need it. I don't need it anymore. Now I can focus on the new world. Really neat action placement mechanic. The income, just the overall mechanics of this game are good. However, for me, the game just ended kind of quickly. It's over in 4 rounds. You play about 4 actions per round. So you're really looking at 16 actions that you get to play. For me, that's super tight. For some people, they're looking for a really heavy resource production game. But it almost, as soon as I came up with an engine, because you do get this engine on the new world that you need to establish pretty quickly. As soon as you get this engine rolling, the game ends. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the gameplay. But overall, as far as the gameplay flow, trying to move resources, determine what ships to move, resource management, action management. There's just a lot to keep in track of this game. There's some infrastructure cards which can give you some bonuses, but you have to it really promotes long-term planning in this game. So is this game good for 2? And I really like this game. I think it's a good, solid game. Is it for me? I'd rather play Beyond the Sun. My wife really likes woodcraft, and this kind of equates to kind of a woodcraft. She likes that a little bit more than this, but really, we both enjoy this game, but don't quite love the game. It's so tight, and it just seems as soon as you have the engine, the game ends. And I think that's my one thing is I like to build an engine and really see it prosper for a few turns and really get, the ball rolling. But at this game, you may be at a resource production of 1 or 2 for a turn or 2. And then by the 3rd turn, you're like, here's my engine. And the 4th turn, and it's over. So for me, it's a good, tight game. I just wish it had a little bit more longevity. With 2 players, I think this is a great game. Because there's not a ton of player interaction minus who buys which ship, who buys what stadium or infrastructure, and then making sure that the other person doesn't take your your area. Now, in a 4-player game, I could see it getting very crowded because you can only settle in this like tundra biome until you start to move your progress token, your satellites around. Then you can settle on these different biomes. But in a 2-player, there's plenty of places to settle, so you're not competing as heavily as it would be with 4. So I could definitely see this being a super tight game at 4, especially on where you want to be placing. But at 2, it's pretty light on the player interaction. It is there, but you're really doing your own thing, looking your own technology board, making sure you can place on the new world and going forth like that. There's a lot of nuances to this game, but I think with 2 players, it's just a good, solid game. Is it a highly recommend need in the collection? Probably not, but is it a good play if you can? Yes, plays really well with 2, would be super tight with 4, even though it'd take us a little while. So our last game took us 60 minutes. First game took us an hour and a half or so. So you can really get it down once you've got this to the table a few times. So hope you guys enjoyed the review, and until next time.